What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about what if Scandinavia united into one country? How powerful could it be? Well, I don't think this is gonna actually happen anytime soon, but at the same time, this sounded like a really sort of interesting, hypothetical topic to learn about. And I wonder what people living in Scandinavia actually think about something like this. So I wanted to take a look at this little video. What if Scandinavia united? And how powerful could it become if that happened? Let's take a look.
What exactly is Scandinavia? The countries of Scandinavia are Denmark, Norway, and Sweden.
Most Americans, by the way, have no idea what Scandinavia is. I know this because as an American, I had no idea what Scandinavia was till I started learning a bit more about Norway on YouTube, at least. But it's Norway, Sweden, Denmark. Okay.
It is Scandinavia. The countries of Scandinavia are Denmark, Norway, and Sweden.
Right.
We might also refer to the Scandinavian Peninsula, or Fennoscandia, which...
Scandinavian Peninsula. See, there's still stuff I've never heard of. Still stuff I don't know about. Scandinavian Peninsula? Does that include Finland? And part of Russia? Scandinavian Peninsula, or Fennoscandia. I've never heard of that.
also comprises Finland and parts of Russia. Moreover, we talk about Nordic countries,
Right.
and these include Iceland, Greenland, and the Faroe Islands.
What? Wait, what? Oh, okay. I had no idea about this. I've heard the phrase, you know what? This is not even supposed to be the topic of this video, although kind of. I didn't know what Nordic countries comprised of, too. That includes Greenland and Iceland, Faroe Islands, Norway, Sweden, Denmark. I did not know that. Okay.
But today we're talking about 3 countries alone, and they are Sweden, Denmark, and Norway.
Right.
The countries have similar customs and cultures, and the languages are not far apart.
Yeah, I learned, that blew my mind when I learned about how people from Norway can understand people from Denmark and Sweden can understand, Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, everyone can sort of understand each other a bit. I don't even know how that works. I guess the languages are like 80% similar or something, or I don't even know how that happens, but apparently Scandinavians can kind of communicate with each other, which is cool. I know the cultures, I'm pretty sure, are like pretty distinct from each other. When you actually dive in and learn about the cultures, I'm pretty sure they have like their own unique cultures. But if you look at them on a map, it's funny because it kind of looks like if you take away all the borders, it looks like they would be just one country. Although obviously that's not how it is.
The EU tells us the citizens of all these countries will likely be able to read each other's languages, although Swedes and Norwegians can have trouble understanding spoken Danish, even though the Danish and Norwegian languages are the most similar. Now, let's look at what would happen if these countries finally came together. In this episode,
If they finally came together. Well, I know a bit of Norwegian history, like it was a part of like Denmark and other, like there's all sorts of history where these countries were part of each other and then not part of each other. And I don't know what would have to happen in the modern day right now for Norway, Sweden, and Denmark to combine and become one country. I don't think that would ever happen. Like they all have their own monarchs and like governments and stuff. Like I just don't see it happening.
of the infographic show, What if Scandinavia united? Many people look at these countries as if they're some kind of utopia. They generally are in the top 10 of countries based on standard of living. The economies are vibrant, there are safety nets in place for the poor, and there doesn't seem to be too much crime.
Yeah, I mean, this narrator is absolutely correct. That's absolutely true. Funny enough, like Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark are all considered like some of the happiest, most successful, best places to live on Earth in a whole bunch of different categories. And that's pretty amazing. I mean, that means, combined, that would it'd just be the super country. It'd just take over the world if that it was a combined effort. Maybe? No.
Might also add that life can be diverse in these regions. There is a big difference from living in downtown Stockholm to living in Jokkmokk, a remote part of Sweden home to the Sami people. The same goes for the hinterlands of Norway, although Denmark could be said to be much less diverse in terms of geography and culture. How big would the population be in United Scandinavia? According to Worldometers, 9.9 million people live in Sweden, 5.3 million people live in Norway, and 5.7 million people live in Denmark.
Okay.
Now, let's get the calculator out. The entire population of a United Scandinavia would be nearly 21 million. That's still
21 million. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is interesting because Sweden, Norway, and Denmark are some of pretty small countries, especially compared to the UK or United States, in particular. They're very small. Not that hasn't really mattered all that much though. They still do extremely well. Sweden, Norway, Denmark do extremely, extremely well. Even though there's a small population, it's almost kind of cool that it's a really small population in a way. But combining and having 21 million people would make it a little more up there with some other countries in terms of population.
Still isn't very big. It's about the same amount of people that live in Sri Lanka, less than Australia, and almost equal to the metropolitan area populations of Sao Paulo, Brazil, or Mumbai in India.
Yeah.
Now, let's add up the GDPs of these countries. According to the International Monetary Fund, the GDP of Sweden is $538.6 billion, the GDP of Norway is $396.5 billion, and the GDP of Denmark is $324.5 billion.
Wow. So altogether, it'd be a GDP of over $1 trillion.
Time for the calculator again. The entire GDP of our United Scandinavia, according to these numbers, would be $1.3 trillion.
Individually, all of the Scandinavian countries are pretty amazing, especially for their size. It's unbelievable. But combined, that'd be seriously a global powerhouse.
How does this figure hold up against the GDPs of the world? It would be in 17th place, just behind Indonesia and just in front of Turkey.
Yeah.
To put that into perspective, Indonesia has a population of just over 267 million, and Turkey slightly over 82 million, so it looks as though there is plenty of money to go around for a 21 million.
Yeah. That's amazing. Scandinavia, for how small the population is, has so much success and so much money. That's unbelievable. Whether you consider them separate or in this pretend situation.
Million United Scandinavians. If we look at gross domestic product per capita, which is the GDP divided by the population, used as an estimate of purchasing power, Norway comes top of our three nations. Lists differ depending on what source you're reading. The CIA puts Norway in 8th place, Sweden in 18th place, and Denmark in 23rd place.
Right, I know Norway is particularly successful in this, and has that sovereign wealth fund that's worth so much money, oil money at this point, and invested. And
what we can say is that economically, these united countries would do just fine.
Yeah.
Would this prosperous country be safe on the world stage? We can't go into a detailed military analysis of all three nations, but we can have a look at military expenditures according to global firepower.
Yeah, I think it would. What would the name of this country be? Scandinavia? It'd just be the country, I guess? Or it'd be Swedmark, Swedmark or something. That'd be the name. The shape of Scandinavia, being a peninsula, is kind of nice. Being bordered by a lot of water, makes it really strategically sort of easier to protect, I think.
It tells us that Sweden has the 31st most powerful military in the world and spends $6.2 billion on defense.
Okay.
Norway was ranked 36th, but was said to have spent $7 billion on defense.
Wow.
Denmark was 54th on the list with a defense budget of $4.4 billion.
Okay.
Altogether, that's a combined defense budget of $17.6 billion.
Okay.
On the world stage, that would put the combined defense budget of these countries in 15th place behind Israel and in front of Canada.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot higher than I thought. That would already put the Nor-Swedmark, as we're saying, it put Nor-Swedmark all the way up to 15th in the world?
But how would the people be getting along in other matters concerning well-being? That, of course, is hard to say. But if you look at the World Economic Forum's top 10 list of standard of living around the world, it looks like our united Scandinavia would do well. It has Denmark in third place, stating that it rates very high in equality and opportunities for upward mobility. Sweden was in sixth place, with the report saying lifestyle, nutrition, and general well-being of its people was great. Norway was behind in seventh place for many of the same reasons.
Yeah, I'm really curious, like, how the actual cultures would mesh. If Norway, Sweden, and Denmark combined into one country, like, is there enough of a similarity in culture and values that it would be okay? Like, I know about Norway, like, Norwegians are very polite and empathetic and, like, very community driven. If Sweden and Denmark are also like that, maybe it could create this like perfect utopian society or something. And like I said, all three of the Scandinavian countries, it's pretty amazing. They do rank so highly out of the entire world in standard of living, happiness, like progress. Scandinavia is pretty darn amazing. Maybe it needs to become one Scandinavia. No, I still don't see why that would ever be necessary.
All countries fare well on lists determining healthcare, with Business Insider saying that Norway spends more on healthcare per person than any country in the world. Life expectancy in all these.
Wow, wait, what?
Norway spends more on health.
Norway does?
Well, on lists determining healthcare, with Business Insider saying that Norway spends more on healthcare per person than any country in the world.
Wow. I did not know that fact about Norway. Norway spends more on healthcare per person. Man, that's amazing. Oh my, in the entire world. Oh my gosh, I did not know that. I knew Norwegian healthcare was really good and people are happy with the system. But if you're Norwegian, you're literally getting like at least the most money spent on you to take care of you. Which is only one way of measuring it, but that is impressive.
Life expectancy in all these nations is also high, with Sweden being 82.4 for both sexes, Norway 81.8,
Wow.
and Denmark 80.6.
Wow.
That makes life expectancy for our united Scandinavia 81.8.
Okay.
As for how the young are educated, there are many lists out there you can check. Countries such as Singapore and South Korea often come high in terms of academic performance, but low in terms of student stress. One country that is often extolled for its education system all around is Finland. So maybe our united Scandinavia can look there for help. Still,
Finland.
on most lists, Norway, Denmark, and Sweden don't do too badly. Another thing is,
Yeah, I would imagine the education systems in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark are rated quite highly, I would imagine.
that not only do these countries have languages they all understand, but if you visited Scandinavia, you'll know that many people speak exceptional English.
Oh, right. I know that Norwegians are largely bilingual and speak English. Do people from Denmark and Sweden also usually speak English? That's really interesting. So the languages are all sorta similar. I still don't know how well you could just combine the three countries and expect everything to work. And how would the governments even like combine? And there's so much stuff like that you'd have to figure out. But the language, like there's also that common thread of all three countries speak English really well by the sound of it.
In fact, Denmark and Sweden often come top in lists that judge the best speakers of English as a second language in the world. On
Wow.
the lists, we could find all three countries get in the top four, with only the Dutch getting in the way of Scandinavians taking gold, silver, and bronze.
Oh my god. I did not know that either. Oh my god. This video is literally just like teaching me about how amazing Scandinavia is. Like the three countries, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, all three are some of the highest ranked countries in the world. And also in speaking English as well. Like what?
In terms of job opportunities and other opportunities in life, this ability to be super fluent in English makes our United Scandinavia a special place.
Right.
So, what if Scandinavia united? In the UK's independent newspaper in 2016, a Norwegian hotel tycoon and billionaire said that's what should happen. He said a Scandinavian superstate could be made due to proximity, similarities in culture, and language.
What? So this guy wrote an article about this, and this person was from Norway, and they said that Scandinavia should unite into one country. Do people in Norway or Sweden or Denmark, does anyone ever talk about this? Like, actually? Is this actually a discussion ever? Or is it just something like kind of fun to think about? I want to know how seriously people actually considered this, because I've never heard of this happening seriously.
Think about what a fantastic country we would have been together, he said, talking about how each country and their innovations would be even better if they were one.
Maybe.
A united Scandinavia is discussed on Quora many times, with lots of people thinking it would be a good idea. Still, some say it wouldn't have the economic or military strength to truly become a great global superpower.
Wow, you're right. So all three countries are so successful on their own. Would combining them make for just super success and innovation? I don't know. I don't know. Apparently, that's what some people argue.
Powerful or not, most agree it would be a pretty prosperous place.
Yeah.
So, would a united Scandinavia really be a better place for all of its people? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Also,
I don't know. I don't know. That's a tough question. I still think that the Scandinavian countries, all three, have their own unique cultural identities. Whereas this video is trying to argue like, oh, all the countries are so similar. They're basically almost the same. Why not combine? I think there's still some significant differences, which are good, which are like really deeply ingrained with what it means to be Norwegian or Swedish or from Denmark. I guess it might be fun to look at some of the comments here and see what people say about this. I don't know if people from Scandinavia might have actually like chimed in here and given their opinion. As a Norwegian, I think if we united, we would always win the Winter Olympics. There we go. That's all the reason you need to have united Scandinavia. That's true. You'd never lose another winter competition ever. As a fellow Scandinavian, I love my neighbors. Even though we have some sibling rivalry, we are still united at the end of the day. That's what I have heard before, that there's some rivalry, sibling rivalry between Norway and some of the other countries. I'm Swedish, and every time sports are on, for instance, the World Cup or so, if Sweden is eliminated, we cheer for Danes or Norwegians or Finns. Oh, so there is like a camaraderie there. I didn't know about that. That's cool. You really love each other deep down inside. I don't think a single Swedish person thinks of Scandinavia without including Finland. They are our brothers and sister. Oh, they kind of completely dropped the ball on that. They completely left out Finland in this entire discussion. Is Finland part of Scandinavia as well? They didn't talk about that at all. That's weird. What else do we have here? Let's invite Finland and Iceland too. It wouldn't be right without them. Oh, okay. So some Scandinavians are on board. Why not just combine all the countries there? There's a lot of similarities, but also some differences. Right, right. I don't know if they're ready to combine just yet or if it's necessary. All three countries seem very, very successful and happy just as they are. Why why change that? Um, what else here? Um, we are all brothers. Sweden, Norway, Denmark. Finland, even if it's Nordic. Iceland is our little brother. So a lot of people saying, hey, don't leave out Finland and Iceland. I didn't know that there was such a camaraderie. Love from all my Nordic neighbors, truly amazing. Scandinavia is beautiful. Um, if we united, I want Finland and Iceland to join. Imagine that epicness. Huh, okay. Wow, a lot of people here seem to be like surprisingly okay with this, but are like, hey, let's get every country, every Nordic country combined, not just Scandinavia. All right, then it'd just be like, oh my God. Then it would just be like the global superpower. Like that would actually be nuts. That would almost be interesting to see. But I still don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, I enjoyed kind of thinking about this hypothetical situation if Scandinavia united. It's interesting to think about. It's kind of fun. But anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your opinion on what if Scandinavia united. Is that possible? Would that be a good thing or a bad thing? That'd be very interesting to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and Norwegian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.